From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Urban Outlook.
Hello and welcome to Urban Outlook. I'm April Eaton. Thank you for being with us today. There's an effort underway at more than 150 college campuses across the country to increase study abroad participation rates. Generation Study Abroad is the initiative, and the goal is to double American study abroad to about $600,000 people, students in the next decade. A local networking organization has a similar goal in mind, to increase the number of opportunities for women of color to study abroad and to work abroad. So to talk a little bit about that is Cha Jones, who is the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of an organization called Expat Women of Color. Thank you so much for being with us, Cha.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start, because obviously the focus on college campuses is to expand the study abroad. You work in an organization that does just that, but why the focus on that particular area for you?
Well, I lived abroad and I noticed that there was a growing number of African Americans actually going abroad, but also because I am African American and I recall being in school and I had a desire to study abroad, but I always thought it wasn't for me. And so now that I have the opportunity, as I'm getting my master's in international education, I want to encourage more African Americans and minorities alike to just take the opportunity and study abroad and see the world and expand their horizons.
When you say you didn't think it was for you when you first thought of this idea, what did you mean by that? That it wouldn't help you career-wise or in your schooling, or that you just didn't know whether the opportunity was affordable?
Actually, all of those things. I remember being in high school studying Spanish, and I remember a spring break coming and there was this trip to some Latin country, and the teacher was taking about 10 students, and I remember that was kind of expensive, and I just thought, wow, I wish I could go, but that's rather expensive. And I remember it was kind of not targeted towards me, so I kind of felt like I shouldn't even attempt. Although, growing up and knowing that if you desire to do something, you should just do it and don't fear anything. But just then, at that particular time, I was probably in the 9th or 10th grade, I just felt like, one, my mother probably could not afford it. It wasn't targeted towards me. Nobody on that poster looked like me. And I hadn't known any other African Americans who had taken a trip like that. And so I guess, talked myself out of it. So.
The numbers of students abroad, and I guess people working abroad, do look a little differently when you look at the minority side of the picture. You shared some numbers with us that were from the Institute of International Education, and it says that African Americans make up about 5.3% of the study abroad, Latinos 7.6%, Asians 7.7%, compared to Caucasians who make up about 76.4%. So that's why those faces didn't look like yours on that poster, for sure.
Right.
So the importance of this all, because when we think about today's world, today's environment, and all of the global connections, how important is it that we allow women of color, people of color, to have this opportunity to study abroad?
Oh, extremely important. I think that because we are living in a global society, a global world, that we have to look beyond our neighborhoods and our communities and our states and our country. So young people need to understand that the world that I lived in and that their parents and grandparents lived in is kind of changing, or it actually is changing, and it's evolving. And what used to take, hours, days, months to actually access takes like 2.5 seconds because of the internet. And so we live in a world where you have to be accessible to international experiences, different cultures. You have to be very open-minded. And so I think that for young people, it is essential that they have the ability to look beyond the borders of the United States for jobs, for experience. And so studying abroad actually allows that to happen.
So how does this work, Expat for women? So you're on college campuses, or you're going to college campuses, I assume, and you're having some conversations with women who are interested in studying abroad. Tell us how it works.
Well, at this point, we are not on college campuses, but we are talking to several colleges to actually start chapters. And what we're trying to do is go onto the college campus and have a chapter that engages students who are currently coming here to study abroad, so that they can have that experience. Because what I have found is that the international students that are coming to the United States to study abroad, they kind of stay in their own nucleus because that's safe, and we all tend to, you know, draw to people who are like ourselves. And so for them, you know, it's difficult to expand on the college campus if they don't step out of their realm, because they've come here for an experience. And so we want to engage that experience to another level, but we also want to encourage more minorities to think globally, and we want them to have interaction with other people, like those who are working at corporations who already have global mobility experience, that can come tell them about it, so that they can have mentorships and relationships that are beyond the college. We also want them to look at their study abroad opportunities. Find the study abroad office. A lot of times these students don't know where that is. Find monies and resources that will allow them to study abroad. And then we also want them to engage other students to think beyond the realm of the college and have a global or international experience right there.
Because there are some costs involved, right? Some kind of, you've got to be able to afford to kind of delay your education on one side and go to this other country and continue it there. So are you paying tuition there when you study abroad? Do you still pay tuition to your current college and university? How does that all work?
Oftentimes your tuition includes the ability to study abroad. There may be some other costs added in, but it would be just like resource costs that would be added in anyways. So you have the ability to study abroad. Wow. And a lot of times it's how you're using your funds. You know, I tell students all the time, so you got a refund check, right? And they say yes. And I was like, how much was that refund check? And then they'll tell me, and I'll say, now you could have taken that money and used that towards your study abroad, or towards something that you truly wanted to do, instead of wasting it or using it, you know, for your daily survival here in America. You can also use that for your daily survival in another country. But there are other grants and scholarships, like the Born Scholarship, which gives minorities the opportunity to study abroad and it not be costly. So I think that removing the stigma that there's a cost associated with everything,
right?
But it's how you decide that you want to spend your money and your time. Do you want to spend your money and time partying? Do you want to spend your money and time developing yourself and expanding your horizon?
So Child, when you look at those different programs abroad, when you find that office on campus, how do you decide which country works best for you, which program works best for you? Do you try to align what you're currently studying with a program abroad, or do you think a little differently and try to explore some other area while you're abroad?
I think that for most students, they try to do something similar to adding all of that into the equation. A lot of times it is about the study. You know, a lot of STEM students who are studying in the sciences or in the maths tend not to go study abroad because they don't want to defer. And a lot of times you don't defer. You just add these classes into your current studies. And so for a lot of students, I think what needs to happen is that they should look at what experience they want to have. They should look at their study. They should look at and ask themselves questions like, what is it that I really want to get out of this experience? Do I want to go to London where it's safe in the sense that I can speak the language, the food is not going to be terribly different, or do I want to go to a place like Korea where the food is going to be terribly different, but at the same time there are so much so many things that are Western that won't take you out of your, safe zone. So I guess you would have to ask yourself, what is it that I truly want to get out of this experience, and what am I willing to risk, and what am I willing to gain?
You touched on something, and that's the safety aspect. So how do you make sure, because you're partnering, I would think that your organization is helping students not just get an idea of what it's like to study abroad, and women to work abroad, but you're also partnering them with someone on the other side, someone elsewhere, someone in the other country. So how do you make sure that the safety factor is in place, that when those students travel, when those women go and work over there, that they're safe when they're there?
Well, most schools already have a safety plan in place when they allow students to study abroad, so we don't actually do anything with that.
Okay.
However, what we do provide is a network of women who are currently abroad for whatever reason, whether they're studying, living, working, or just traveling. And so we have about 2,100 women that are currently in our network, and they assist on several different levels. Whether you just need somebody to talk to because you're in this country and it's so foreign to you, and you get homesick, they can encourage you, or have someone that can meet with you and have coffee with you, or just actually having a network of friends that you are developing a relationship while you're studying abroad. We provide that in the sense of what our network is actually doing.
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got a couple of students who've worked with you and through your organization in order to be able to participate and study abroad. So I want to get them on and have some conversations with them as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back in just a bit.